people may be surprised by what I say to myself when I'm home alone, and I'm home alone a lot. Now, anyone that's seen my recent videos, maybe it won't come as so much as a surprise. You know, people often say, have positive affirmations, always think positively. That's a good place to be. And I think it's really important that we do for the most part. But I think we have to be realistic with ourselves as well. You know, there's no point like keeping our head in the clouds and pretending that everything's hunky dory when maybe our reality isn't such. So within my own life, for instance, I'm a little bit more. I get frustrated. I get really, really frustrated. And when I say it, I mean it. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm just saying it because I feel a bit bad today. It's like, no, I mean it with every ounce of my being. And I say it out loud to spirit. I just say, like, my life sucks. I said, life sucks. I said, this is a shit life. It's just miserable. And that's how I feel, you know. I haven't got bipolar or anything like that, you know, because I think some people see my content. You might think you see this and then you see me behave a different way. It's processing. It's looking at where you are in life, look where you're trying to get to, and put things into perspective. And then it's just, okay, this is the situation you're in at the moment. It's like, it's shit. It is absolutely shit. There's not much redeeming factors in it. Does that mean that I don't believe in my path or my future? No, it doesn't. I know it'll all work out eventually, but in its present form, it's miserable. And that's just being transparent with self. That doesn't represent how I feel about me, though. You know, that's the circumstance. The circumstance is, this is just misery. It's horrible. But in terms of like who I am at my core, oh no, I'd never think that of me. You know, that's the thing. I would never think of that of me. So I know some people can go too far and they start thinking they're worthless. Oh, I don't think I'm worthless. Believe me, I know how resilient I am, intelligent, how I overcome so many things. How I'm compassionate with those that I feel compassionate towards. I'm supportive of people I feel deserving. I'm very strong with boundaries. So I have so many characteristics that make me very resilient and strong. And I don't take that for granted. I know my qualities and I love who I am. I wouldn't change me for anything. That's the thing. I love myself. I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't replace myself with anyone else. You know, there's an absolute love of self. But like I said, it doesn't change the current circumstances. It's so demoralizing. I feel like life's got me. I mean, like, it's almost like a holding pattern where nothing works. It doesn't matter what I do. And I don't want to make this an entirely negative thing. I just want to put it in perspective, and then maybe hopefully people understand that your circumstances don't define you. And everything in life's temporary. Change is always progressing, you know. And yeah, I just think it's really important to share the journey, though, and I've always been transparent about that. It's not share the victories, but then just ignore the losses. I think it's really important to, speak candidly, speak open on those struggles, you know. So I have my little wins, and then I have my great losses, and hopefully over time those losses will be fewer, and the little wins will be greater. You know, that's just hopefully that's the plan. So recently, like, I had time with my daughter. We had like the whole Christmas period together, which doesn't happen. You know, we had a great amount of time together. So, you know, life's good. Life's good. It's like the home is a home, you know. But then she returns, you know, back to her mother. She's got school and all sorts of things. And then it's like you're back to how it was before. And before you sort of cope, you know, but when you when you sort of have a little bit of light in your life, it does make you happy. And then when it goes again, it's like, well, this is just miserable again, isn't it? Now, my life isn't so fixated on one circumstance anymore. In the past, it was like she was my world and she is everything. But there's more factors now, you know. I'd always felt that I don't want the weight of my life on her. So um, any frustration I feel isn't just one specific thing. Um, so she's not responsible in any way. You know what I mean? Like it's that's not the only thing. You've got that on top of, I spoke a lot about wanting to be in love and things. It's just a heart. It's just like a. It's hard to explain it. Because some people, they're always in relationships. They can't cope with being alone. So there's a real need for some people to be alone, to find themselves. I've been alone for a long time, and the problem is my standards are so high, it makes it almost impossible. Like I can't just throw myself into situations just because I want affection. So it just makes it that much heavier because you just know it's going to take a miracle, an absolute miracle to align me with the right person. And unless that happens, I'm stuck. There's an immense loneliness that lingers. And it's like I look at my personality, or who I am at my core, and it's just such a waste. I've got a home to myself, literally. Yeah, it should be a thriving, bubbly environment. I should have a partner. We should have, like, my daughter should be home, potentially even more kids. It should, that's what my life should be. That's what I should have around me. That's all I want. Talk about it a lot. I don't want like friend groups and all this stuff. I'm not interested. I just want my circle, my group. I'm happy with that. Instead of all that, I just get like I'm just on my own with me. Fortunately, I am resilient, so and I don't make myself bored. I'm too busy, always thinking, always my mind's always firing. But then, I work on my book projects. I work on projects, and nothing seems to just pick up. It doesn't seem right. None of it makes sense. So you want to feel proud in what you're doing. And I do feel proud when I've done what I've done, but I don't sort of dwell on them, and I'm always focused on the next project rather than applauding myself for anything I do. But it's very deflating when you're not gaining any traction. Well, at least it doesn't feel like you're gaining traction. So of course, as a consequence, resources are low. So that means your options are limited. And this year I don't have a holiday planned, and I like to have a holiday planned. Partly financial reason. Other side was I just wanted to see how the year was playing out a little bit. I didn't want to sort of have anything stuck in the way of an opportunity if something was to happen. But when you start looking at the boxes that could be ticked, it's like then very few. It's it's just like living in purgatory, to be honest. It really does feel like life's passing by, and I'm just sort of like waiting for something to ignite, something just to bring some excitement, really, and just bring something to just make everything worthwhile. So I walk around the home, just I say it out loud so my guides know how pissed off I am. I just walk around saying my life sucks. I said this is absolute shit. And I'm like, what's the point? Um, I'm not like that all the time. I'm sure I'm feeling it all the time, but I don't say it out loud all the time. But sometimes I feel really heavy. So even when I walk up the stairs, I just can't even be asked to walk. And I feel like 10 times heavier. So those steps are just draining, and I can't even be bothered. It's like, what's the point? Even to walk up the stairs, what's the point? Um, but like I say, I want people to see, I just want people to understand that side of life, that you're going to have ups and downs. The low points are going to be heavy. The low points in life are going to be heavy, especially when you're transforming your life. A transition that requires leaps of faith. And there's going to be losses. Most people wouldn't even understand. Because most people, like I say, they jump from relationship to relationship. They always got people around them. So they don't really know what it's like to literally be alone, stuck with your thoughts. And sometimes being stuck on like a hamster wheel that just doesn't seem to change, you know? But like I say, I know that's not my future. It's just the present. Things will improve, and everything I'm doing is building towards that breakthrough. But I just thought I'd talk about that slightly, really, because I just think I know my videos recently are probably quite obvious. Bear in mind my recent videos, how I feel. But I think it's really important that people don't just sort of like misinterpret things. Don't just assume because people have big dreams and they're working towards those dreams that their life is currently a fairy tale. Because there's, many people that have their breakthrough, they're building that during their biggest miseries, Um, so yeah, life hasn't really dealt me great hands, and I do what I do in spite of that. A lot of the work I do, it's me processing, so I can see things that maybe I could do better. But it's also how have people treated me, and then I look at their insecurities as to why they treated me a certain way or why this incident happened. And then you can just sort of process all those things, and then it makes it hopefully me shining a light will help other people streamline life. I always say that don't use children as a weapon if you ever go through a separation. And hopefully that message will get across to people. And then no one suffers so much. Breakups are hard enough and it's traumatizing for children, but the parents, it's still tough on them. And if you can transition in a way that's amicable, it doesn't mean it's not with a heavy heart. But if you can do it amicably, then the children don't have to suffer so much. Of course, they're still heartbroken. The parents aren't together, and you're still not going to be 100% like kind to each other, and they'll notice that. But if you don't have the child tugging it this way and fighting so hard just to have some time together, if you shouldn't have to do all that, because inevitably you're going to have to deal with the consequences either way as well. So if you're the parent that's stopping your child seeing the other parent, the child is going to remember all those moments, and they may not want a relationship with you in the future. So you might win the battle today, and maybe even over a short term. But you lost the war. You had your short wins and lost the relationship. Well done. Well done. Literally, if you go back in time, it was so unnecessary, wasn't it? Drop the ego, drop the pride, and do the right thing. Everybody wins. Why not have that where everybody wins? Why has someone got to lose? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, so there's a lot of things like I say I talk about, and yeah. So my content isn't always going to be negative. It's just that I'm just in a heavy place in my life at the moment where I'm contemplating directions and stuff, and it's forcing me to sort of look and be honest with myself. It's really important that we're transparent. Don't have to publicly be transparent. It's just what I do is in public because of my books and what I do. And I want to show people the way I think, and hopefully it'll help other people process too. But yeah, it's really important that we're transparent with self. There's no point me sitting here going, you know what, mate, you're doing so great. You're doing so great. Like, let's just focus on the book, keep doing the books. If you have someone you like and if you can see a romance in the future, keep your eye on the prize, keep your eye on the prize, keep doing. It's like, that's great. That's positive affirmations. But let's be realistic with ourselves about how we feel today, though. I carry a heavy heart. And I live with so much trauma and burden. And it's really important that I process that. But it's also important that I value myself not to be led astray, not to deviate from my path, and not allow toxicity to infiltrate me. So I set boundaries, and even though I feel alone a lot, I say it all the time. I'd rather be alone than around toxic people, and that's just how it is. But it's really important, though, that I think that people see this, because if someone else was to say, you know what, I feel the same way. I think it's important they see the consequence of that, though. You will be lonely for periods. It's inevitable. But I see it like, I've said it about in a different video. If you talk about like groups at school sort of thing, you outgrowing the groups you was either born into or ones that have been sort of manufactured throughout your life. Sometimes it's a case of you have to remove yourself from those groups. You've tried, you've experienced, it didn't fulfill, it wasn't serving a purpose. You've outgrown it. You now have to leave it and now go on your own. And it's um, clouded in mystery, but you believe that you'll meet your people somewhere. All you can do is just keep following your path, and eventually, one would hope that by raising your standards, you'll meet others who have also raised their standards, and now you've got quality people who you can trust. It's like a different caliber of people that healed. And I just think it's really important that you stay the course, because a lot of people, they turn around and go back to comfort. And it's like, yeah, but they didn't. You was walking away for a reason. So I'm lonely today, but that doesn't mean I'll be lonely tomorrow. No, I'm expected to be lonely tomorrow, but the point is, things can change at any moment. A breakthrough can come in career. There could be all sorts of opportunities. Who knows where your life unravels? You could meet the love of your life in a moment. All of a sudden, that loneliness is being ebbed away. And eventually, maybe you do have that family you'd love to have, All of a sudden, upgrades start forming. And it's easy for people to put you down when you're going through a moment of crisis or torment. It's always, because people do that, like to compare all the time. It's quite crazy to me. You're just comparing a transitional version of self. You're not comparing the final outcome. But people get jealous as well. So it's easy to forget when people reach the top of their mountain, the journey it took to get there. People just look at what you got and think, oh, why have you got that? Blah, blah, blah. If you were supposed to have that, you'd have that, wouldn't you? Decisions we make lead us to where we're going and define our current circumstance. So me walking away from people and circumstances that no longer serve me and are quite toxic has left me in a state of loneliness. But that's okay, because that's the cost. And I bear the burden of that cost, and I'm fine with it. It's not ideal, but if I can have a positive impact on this earth in whatever way that is, like for me, it's going to be through communication, and it helps people reflect upon their lives. That means I'm being of service to humanity. And for that, I can accept my life being a bit crap. If my life has to be the point where I wake up and go, my life sucks, I may feel that for the next decade, another 20 years. I may feel that on a regular basis. And I may say, I'm not doing anything anymore. I've had enough, because it weighs on you, But I'm resilient. So sometimes I say, I'm not going to release the next book now. I don't know when that's coming out. Next thing you know, it may be out in a couple of months still. Because circumstances sometimes are bigger than us. I think it's really important you take a pragmatic view of that, though. It's like, don't diminish your own life, though. Don't always have to prioritize other people. In fact, in most cases, you should be prioritizing yourself. Self-love's important. But I already have that in abundance, as I've already said at the beginning, even though my circumstances are such that doesn't dim my view of self. But I recognize my life, my purpose, my conception is just bigger than me and the joy I would like in my life. It's more of service. So it's really important I do what I come here to do. And I know I recognize now on my path that it's to share my journey. And so that's what I shall do. So, I mean, I expect to get the breakthroughs eventually. But in the meantime, I just suffer through and I'll continue to produce what I need to produce. Like I say, there'll be little wins along the way. But in the present state, yeah, it's pretty crap, to be honest. Now, it doesn't mean I feel pretty crap every day or all the time. I'd have good moments because, I distract myself. Distractions are good when we don't have everything we want. And, some people say that, don't do this, don't do that. It's like, do what you need to cope. But always invest in self, though. That's really important. So, like, for instance, you could play video games. They're a great way to get away from reality just for a bit. But don't get addicted to it. Make it so competitive. I think it's really important because there's nothing to. Because I had the problem myself for much of life. It's only when I stopped so much, I actually started to achieving my bigger goals. So the time lost playing games, per se, could be a time it takes me to release the next book. And it's meaningless, the games in the end. Games are a good distraction, but don't let that be your success story because it's just a game. And you have to really get that in your head. It's just a game. Even if you try to make it competitive, at the end of the day, it's still just a game, though. Just a game. So make it fun, but leave it there. And then focus on other things. Focus on other hobbies and things that will actually elevate your life and make you proud of you. And I think that's where people lose sight a little bit. They focus so heavily in one direction and they just lose so much time. They wonder where time's going by and why they're not fulfilled. And it's like, because you're not investing in yourself. Your mind's been lost to a distraction, so it's really important. You just limit your time, sort of make times for things, But I saw someone recently say, very successful person, don't play games, don't play video games. They're too good. And I got the message. I knew what he meant. I knew what they meant. They're so good, they're distracting as hell. But I also recognize they can be fun. So don't force yourself not to enjoy life. But yeah. The other thing as well, I think is really crucial here is don't be spiteful. Don't be spiteful. Don't lash out just because you're not happy. Like, for instance, my daughter's recently got a boyfriend, and she's really liked this boy for a while. Seems a nice kid. And she's so excited and happy. And just because I don't have the life I would love to have right now, that does not affect how I feel about her joy, for her excitement. I'm proud for her. I'm really happy for her. And I want her to be so happy. And the fact that she's finally got that, it's like her dreams are coming true. Now you never know how life takes you in the future. In this present moment, that's making her so happy. And that makes me incredibly happy for her. So you don't have to look at people and think, because I'm not happy today, I'm not feeling it. I don't want you to be, I can't get involved. I don't feel happy for you. You can still feel happy for people. Don't wish other people's misery just because you're not in a good place yourself, Like I say, everything's temporary. Everything's temporary. So I think just enjoy the ebbs and flows of life. This period where I'm going through right now, I'll look at this one day and recognize this was my healing period of my life. It was the transformation. And I'll realize, and I'll recognize, and I know I will, I'll recognize that all of this was what built my resilience. It's what made me my strongest because it didn't destroy me. So I'll have low moments, just like everybody else, but I don't stay there. Pick myself up and say, you haven't got time for this. What do we want to achieve? What do you want for your life? Well, doing nothing and giving up isn't going to get you there. So get up. Let's keep going. So some days are going to be heavy, like you're walking through the Sahara Desert, and it doesn't feel like there's an end. It's just sand, sand, sand. But one day, you never know when, all of a sudden you're going to see the water, and you're going to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe we made it." But you definitely were never going to make it if you just stop and give up. Got to keep believing. So I don't stop believing in my dreams. I get fed up sometimes focusing on it because I think, well, who knows when the hell that's happening? Waited long enough. Um, but I still take the action required because it's bigger than me. And that's how I am. So it's really important as well that we don't live life in competition because, and the other thing is, of course, don't project onto people because it's easy to think you do, like maybe you're in a better phase of life and you might think, oh, look at them. But because it's easy to say someone's pathetic when you've got everything. But then other people's lives come coming down at times too, you know? And then your life's on the up. And then they're resentful and bitter. Like, why all of a sudden it's not fair? It's like, why? Well, you can't expect to go through life and have everything all the time. So just because someone's suffering, it doesn't mean they're going to suffer forever. But also, it means when you're winning and you're doing great, it doesn't mean you're going to do great forever. So just be ready, but enjoy the wins, and be ready to grow during the other phases. You know. Anyway, hopefully it's been some sort of way of helping people. I'm not sure it's been too clear. But the biggest part of that I really wanted to get through to people was the disparity between the current circumstance and how we think about ourselves. Because the circumstances don't define me. We're talking about like who I am. I love who I am. And I know I deserve a better life. And I know I would thrive in different scenarios. I know I'm a great parent. So it seems a waste for me to be on my own. That if this is where I'm placed for the period, that it's where I am for a period. But it just seems such a waste. And I say that out loud as well. Like, what a freaking waste of life. But it is what it is. And we don't all get what we want. Well, especially, well, you may one day, but we don't always get what we want when we want it.